working at AWS taught me is that you never know what the future will bring. Security is the reason why companies are going to the cloud. Generative AI is a tool. It's a tool like everything else pretty much in IT. Machine learning will help you to change the way how you build the business. We definitely should not be afraid of the new technology. So the future is now. The question is what will be different in a few years?
Hello, my name is Krzysztof Grzywna and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the next Andersen Labs Technology interview. Today we'll deep dive into the key industry trends, the latest advancement of cloud computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning and many more. I'll be talking to Tomasz Stachlewski, Head of Technology in AWS, Amazon Web Services. Hi Tomasz.
Hi, thanks a lot for the invitation. I'm looking forward for our discussion.
It's a real pleasure to have you here today and thank you so much for accepting Andersen's invitation. I hope that our today's chat will be beneficial for both IT specialists as well as some regular users just being curious in the latest trends. Would you mind shortly introducing yourself?
Sure. So like I said, I'm the head of technology at AWS. I'm responsible for CE region, which stands for Central and East Europe. I'm managing the team of solutions architects. Solutions architects are a group of people which help clients, our customers, to migrate to AWS, to build new application systems on AWS based on our product services which are offered by AWS Cloud.
Perfect. Thank you so much. As a seasoned IT expert, you certainly know current trends inside out. What are your favorite ones and you foresee upcoming 5 years? Maybe you have some interesting story to support them and showcase.
So what working at AWS taught me is that you never know what the future will bring. For me, I have been working for AWS 9 years, and it is always a surprise that suddenly everybody are talking about something new. Just a few years ago, 2-3 years ago, all of us started talking about generative AI, machine learning, artificial intelligence. A few years before it was about containers, then it was big data, serverless, and much more. So I would not be brave enough to be sure exactly what the future will show us, what exactly the trend will be in 5 years, but what is definitely on the map for the next 3 years is machine learning, artificial intelligence, and to be specific, generative AI. This is something about which everybody are talking and everybody are trying to implement application using this technology.
That's great. Do you have an IT project? Andersen will do everything to launch it as soon as possible. Strengthen your resources with our specialists. Hire a well-coordinated, dedicated team, or entrust the entire development process to us. Getting started is easy. Fill out the contact form to get a free consultation.
Let's just jump into it a bit later because we have a spare floor for AI itself, I think, for a decent part of this interview. But first of all, Tomasz, our company, Andersen Lab, puts a great emphasis on partnerships with tech giants like, for instance, AWS. How do you perceive it's the other side of the medal? How valuable are partnerships in eyes of tech giants like Amazon Web Services with consulting companies? What do you see is the advantage of such partnerships, and what do you look for when searching for technological partners?
This is an excellent question, and you use the term, tech giant, and this is quite, interesting because on one hand, yes, you're right. We're talking about, for example, AWS, a global company with 100,000 people across the globe, from Europe, USA, China, pretty much everywhere. But still, whenever there is a company which wants to go to the cloud, to AWS in this case, very often there is also a need for somebody else. Pretty much AWS is leveraging partners which are locally in a specific country, in a specific continent, who knows the market, who are experts in a specific industry. What AWS is doing is, for example, is selling, offering big data solutions. But at the end, if you are a company which is working in FSI, you are not only looking for big data analytics solutions, but you're looking very often for a company which will help you to use it in your industry. So partners are the key to be actually successful in the market. So whenever there is a partner in Poland, in Germany, in UK, Dubai, across the globe, this is the way how the tech giants, like you said, are able to scale, and they are able to actually provide the best service for end customers.
Right. And by the way, when you search for technological partners like AWS, your company, are there any particular criteria that you look for when searching for a partner? Maybe reliability or expertise? What would you say?
Totally. So at AWS, there is something which is called AWS Partner Network, APN. So this is a group of our partners across the globe. Currently, there is more than 130,000 companies across the globe. And depending on the expertise, the industry in which they are working, they can be grouped into additional layers. So whenever there is a company and it's just starting the cloud journey of being our partner, it gets the basic status, a registered partner. But then there's some additional layers like premium and so on. So getting back to your question, what does it mean to be a partner and what qualify them to be specific tier, there's a few different things. First of all, we'll validate if they have got the right level of expertise. So for example, we'll validate if they have got enough people who has got AWS certifications, because this is proof for AWS that they will be able to provide the right knowledge, expertise for our clients, and they know AWS. So this is one of those. So that, for example, depending on which tier we are talking about, the partner might be required to have 5, 10, 50 different AWS certifications. Then what is also important is the area of expertise. Those days, we are not only looking for partners who knows the cloud. The cloud is too big. We are looking for partners who are great in some specific areas. This can be SAP, this can be software development, this can be focusing on machine learning, this can be analytics, or maybe industry expertise, like FSI, like retail, and so on. So the key to be successful as AWS partner is really have solid expertise in some kind of area, and then combine this with AWS, because only then the partner will be able to provide the right level of help, knowledge, and expertise for our clients. And this is exactly what we're looking when we are looking for partners in a specific part of the world.
Thank you very much for the brief explanation, Tomasz, and I hope that each and every one of us can take some key takeaways and make a good lesson out of it. Out of the many interesting things you mentioned when searching for partners, and also when it comes to the key industries that are relevant to AWS when searching for partners, you mentioned a keyword called cloud computing. And I want to touch base upon this one, because first of all, I think it's a lifeblood of today's business, and second of all, it's also core activity of your company, AWS. So my question would be, if you could a bit more elaborate on cloud computing itself, because I think it's still not that obvious for every business nowadays to adapt to it. And second of all, what are the advantages and basically opportunities and possibilities to use it, like whether to go with a private model, hybrid model, and how does AWS help its client to be convinced to such a solution?
You ask a really good question, a very difficult question, because there are so many moving parts in this question. So when I started working at AWS 9 years ago, then those were the beginning of the cloud. And it was very typical for majority of the companies across the globe to ask, okay, so what exactly is the cloud? Why should I go to the cloud? Is the cloud secure? What would be the benefits of the cloud? Now in 2024, the world looks a bit different. This is really good, this is really good. But also the reality is that still a lot of people really don't understand what cloud brings to them. a lot of them still believes that the cloud is just a data center. Okay, a data center which is managed by some third-party company, maybe in Europe, maybe in USA, maybe somewhere else, but this is just a fancy word for a data center. No, cloud is much more. Whenever I'm talking with different kind of companies, I'm always saying, think about the cloud as the vehicle which will bring you a lot of different technologies. This can be analytics, containers, serverless, machine learning, IoT, security, much more. So thanks to the cloud, company is getting access to all of those fancy toys. Suddenly, you don't need to have, this expertise in-house. Suddenly, you don't need to invest from scratch in your own IT team. You can just pick one shiny toy service from AWS Cloud and start using this. Suddenly, you have got access to those same services as Netflix. Suddenly, you have got those same access to the same services like Ryanair. So suddenly, everybody have got access to services, to products which they can utilize to build better products and which will be much more secure, safer, and so on. So, for example, machine learning. We'll be talking a lot about machine learning today, and this is like a very difficult topic for majority of the companies because it's difficult. But thanks to the cloud, they can just go to the cloud and they can pick up the right service which will provide them the right functionality. Maybe they want to convert text to audio to make their applications available for those of people who can't read. Suddenly, in a few easy steps, they can convert text to audio and so on. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the benefits of the cloud, which very often people don't fully understand. Of course, when we are talking about the cloud, we need to talk about the scalability. You can go from 1 server to 100 servers. And in the world before the cloud, you never knew. So you don't want to risk. So in the world before the cloud, you would invest much more in your data center, in the servers, even though probably you won't need it. But you want to avoid a problem. You want to avoid a risk. And in the cloud, you don't need to do it. You can just use a specific amount of resources which you need. And one day, maybe it will be tomorrow, maybe it will be next week, you will actually need more because your business is growing. Maybe you have got some cool marketing campaign. Then you can just easily spin up more resources and everything will be fine. Mm-hmm. So those benefits, there's a few of them also different, like being able to be global. Maybe you are a startup in Germany, maybe you are a startup in Poland, but still you are thinking about being global. You want to be the next unicorn. Without the cloud, it's really hard to spin up your application in USA, in Australia, in China. And now with the cloud, it's as easy as a few clicks of the mouse. You mentioned also one more thing, private cloud.
Yep.
Private cloud, public cloud, or hybrid cloud. Mm-hmm. And this is also very interesting because whenever some people are asking me about these questions, I'm asking them, so please define private cloud. Exactly. And they have got a problem. Because when we think about the cloud needs to provide the scalability, the cloud needs to provide different kinds of services, not only servers, the cloud needs to provide global access. Being private, in most of the cases, 99% of the cases, it means I have got a data center next to my building and I'm there. Is it private? Yes. Is it cloud? It's not a cloud. So if you want to go this way, feel free to do it. But you're limiting yourself while the whole world is moving faster every day, pretty much.
So is AWS cloud, is it public, private, or hybrid?
So firstly, it's public. It provides public cloud offering, services, and so on. Although there are options to make it hybrid or even private. So there is something which is called AWS Outpost. So AWS Outpost is a piece of hardware which is being sold by AWS, rent by AWS. So you can take it, you can put it in your data center because you have got some requirements like latency, like something, maybe some kind of data needs to stay in your country and so on. but then still meet many of cloud characteristics, like for example, being able to spin up on this outpost, on this AWS rack, different AWS services and so on.
You mentioned also a very important aspect, somewhere there was safety. And I think that basically all the kind of topic around the data protection raised some concerns among the both business entities as well as users. What would you say are the strategies to mitigate those risks? I mean, like to make people sure that their data is secure and protected.
I will surprise you because, like I said, I started working for AWS 9 years ago, and it's true that 9 years ago, very typical question, I would say at the beginning of the conversation, was about the security of the cloud. Will I be secure and so on? But those days, you know, one of the most important reasons why companies are going to the cloud is that they believe that they will be more secure in the cloud, because they know that the investment on security coming from AWS and other big cloud vendors is just, you know, it's huge. So it's hard to compare the security which is provided by the tech giants with anything which you could do on your own. So security is the reason why companies are going to the cloud. It's easier to, you know, encrypt the data. It's easier to make sure that it's protected against DDoS and against some hackers and so on. So security is the reason to the cloud.
Would you compare it, for instance, to banking sector? Like, you know, it's like going to a cloud or being like keep the data private, like, you know, keeping your money within a bank and like being afraid that, you know, it might be not that secure there versus keeping your money in a SOC at home, right? Would it be something comparable? Would you agree?
This is a great analogy. You know, I hope you won't mind. I will be using this in future because I love it. I love it. So great analogy. I would totally agree with you. You know, I would totally agree with you. So, but let's elaborate a bit more. So, whenever we're talking about the cloud and the security, it's important to mention something which is called a shared responsibility model, which means that whenever we are going to the cloud, there are two parties which are responsible for making sure that we are secure there. On one hand, this will be the cloud vendor, AWS in this case, which is responsible for making sure that the specific aspects of us running in the cloud are secured. For example, who has got access to the data center, who can access the servers themselves, and so on. So there is different things for which the cloud vendor is responsible for. And on the other hand, there are things for which the client is responsible for. So still, as we would be thinking about, let's say we are spinning up a database in our own data center, in our private cloud, we would be thinking, okay, what is the password? What is the user for this database? Who will be updating the operating system and so on? With the cloud, we still should think about those stuff. Who has got access to our database, what is the password, and so on. But still, a lot of stuff will be handled by AWS, by the cloud vendor. Right. So for example, the database, in this case, there is, for example, a managed database service, which is called RDS, and in this case, it will be patched by the cloud vendor to make sure that you are much more secured than in your own data center.
Right. And you mentioned at the introduction to the cloud computing that its integral part is AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning. How does it combine with each other? Because usually there are like two separate terms and still they somehow go together well, no?
This is like another interesting question, and easy and tough, let me say like this. Pretty much machine learning will be a subset of artificial intelligence. But to make it easy for people, for normal people, for clients, and so on, very often in reality we'll be using those terms, you know, one or the other. In case of AWS, we're using those terms very often together in one syntax, just to make it easier for the customer. Yeah.
All right. And how does it combine to the cloud?
So pretty much in the cloud, like I said before, this is a vehicle of different cloud services. I'm saying sometimes also this is like you go and you pick up those Lego blocks which you will use to build something. Right. You have got one Lego block, which is the cloud server. You have got a different Lego block, which is a database and so on. And there's like more than 200 different kind of Lego block services, which you can use to build something. Some companies will use a few of them. Some companies will use, dozens, hundreds of them. And a big group of those services, of those Lego blocks, are the ones which are connected, providing the functionality of machine learning. And inside of this category, there will be, for example, services which are doing very specific functionality, which is leveraging machine learning. Let's say, for example, converting text to audio, which I mentioned before. Let's say, again, you want to convert it because you want to create audiobooks based on some kind of text. And then you can just leverage one specific Lego block service, send the text there, and in 1 second, you will get the audio. So those are those Lego blocks, or different kind of Lego block will be, for example, analyzing image. You are throwing an image and you are asking the cloud, what is there?
Right.
So there is already built-in service, in this case called recognition, which is already taught how to do it. And it will tell you, on this picture, there is a man, there is a woman, there is a city, a dog, car, somebody is playing guitar, and so on. So you pick up those services which you need for your business, for your application, for being a unicorn.
And talking about AI itself, we finally got here. It's like, on everybody's lips nowadays, right? We have NVIDIA, we have ChatGPT that, wrote the questions to this interview. Everyone's talking about AI, everyone's talking about its adoption and how it will revolutionize, the universe and simply our day-to-day lives. But in my opinion, its adoption across industries is somehow not even, right? I mean, like in some industries it's more, in some industries it's less. How do you perceive it, in your opinion, being like actually a real part of AI adoption and this part of revolution?
We need to understand that at the end, machine learning, artificial intelligence is nothing new. We have been talking about this for the last 20 years, and a lot of different companies have been implementing this already. But what is pretty much new with what happened in the last 2 or 3 years is the new type of artificial intelligence, which we like to call generative AI.
Yep.
This new type of artificial intelligence, like you said, is everywhere. Everybody are talking about it, and they are thinking how to use it, to modify their business, to do something new, to provide new functionality for their clients, and so on. And in reality, for some of them, it's easier than for the others. Because on one hand, this is a really cool technology, but it won't be addressing all problems which we have got. It's great for example, for generating new content, but not every industry is about generating content. It's great, for example, for analyzing existing content like manuals, documentation, and building, for example, chatbots, which, based on the documentation, will help the customers to look for the right information which they're looking for. But again, every industry is different, and for some of them, it will be easier to find the proper use case to use it, while the other, it will be a bit, it will take much more longer time.
Right. And what are the challenges? Because in my opinion, every single business wants a piece of the cake, right? Wants a piece of AI. Everyone wants to do some smart solutions, which is great because we are modernizing, digitalizing, and going with the spirit of time. But what are the challenges and how companies can overcome those challenges in implementing the smart solutions in order simply not to be with a smart solution alone, which wouldn't take them any further?
So there's a few things. First of all, we need to be realistic. Whenever we are thinking about artificial intelligence, sometimes we are thinking about flying cars, that we will totally change the way how we operate, we will totally change our products, and suddenly from tomorrow they will be doing some magic. It's not always the truth. We need to start from small steps. And we see this across the market that, like I said before, very often generative AI will be used to provide, to make easier life of our customers or of our employees. So for example, Toyota is using generative AI to make it easier for their, for people who have got Toyota car. So imagine that you are driving Toyota and you see next to you, in front of your eyes, that there is some strange signal mark on the cockpit, and you don't know what it is. In normal life, Or you would open the manual and you would start looking for the information. What the heck does it mean? Or you would call, the service and say, my car is broken. Now with generative AI, you can just ask, hi Toyota, what does it mean? I see a strange, mark on the cockpit. And then what generative AI is doing is leveraging all of this manuals, this data, to provide the answer. So this is this small step, a very easy step, and a lot of different companies are using this to provide the functionality for their customers. But getting back to your initial question about the problems, there's much more, like for example, security, safety. So are we sure if what we are providing to our customers is correct? And this is a very typical problem with generative AI, because the idea about generative AI is that it will try to find the proper answer, which might not be the case. For the last 20, 30, 40 years, we get used to the fact that whenever we are talking about the IT, the answer is always correct, because we program, we code application in a way that if we did it properly, the answer is correct. Now with generative AI, the answer might not be correct, and we will be calling this hallucination. And sometimes this is good, because for example, when we'll be asking generative AI, please, make a picture of something, we want this to be a new kind of picture. Right. Maybe it's based on something, but in short, it's totally new piece of art. So this is a hallucination, but a good hallucination. On the other hand, when we are thinking, okay, I want to use generative AI, I want to provide it to my end customers, but if we are not 100% sure that the data, the result which will be provided is correct, is it okay for us or no? And the answer is depending, where we are leveraging this. Because if we are a bank and we are providing this functionality to the end customer who is asking, what is my bank account in a value?
It depends.
Yes, we need to be sure. But in some of the cases, 90% accuracy is okay. So this is a very important aspect. Yeah.
But that is why some people perceive AI in general being kind of, the double-edged sword, right? Especially when it comes to the risks you mentioned, and also, for instance, like data privacy. And my question would be like how, AWS is one of the leading players in this AI game, so to say, revolution. How makes it sure, to develop AI into the responsible direction, so to say?
So generative AI is a tool. It's a tool like everything else pretty much in IT. So everything, a lot, will depend on the user and the consumer. But it's also the responsibility of AWS as a provider to make sure that we are doing everything what we can to make sure that the services which are being offered are secure and that are secured. So depending on the service which we would be discussing, the answer would be a bit different. So let's take something on the plate. For example, generative AI, Amazon Titan. Amazon Titan is a foundation model made by Amazon. So pretty much you can use it to generate images. Again, please generate image which describes something. So in this case, what Amazon is doing to make sure that the AI will be used in a responsible way is, for example, attaching invisible watermark in every picture. So now whenever such picture is being generated, there is this watermark. So other companies can use it to detect if we are talking about the fake news, fake image, or is it real. So this is one of those cases.
So like bills simply, right? I mean, like
yes.
Pay with money, then it will be like with images.
Exactly. Or let's take a different example. Let's say we are building a chatbot. We are a pharma company and we want to provide some kind of chatbot for our customer. They will be able to ask, for example, for some information which we offer on our website. And we need to maybe make sure that the chatbot is not providing any additional information which it should not provide. So that's why then we would be using something which is called guardrails. So this is a functionality of the service which is called a Bedrock. Bedrock is the most important service from AWS whenever we are talking about generative AI on AWS. You can use it, you can choose the specific foundation model, like from Anthropic, AI21 Lab, and much more. And then you can create those policies to make sure that, first of all, user which is asking for something is asking only for specific proper information. And also the output of the model is only providing data which you wanted to provide. Nothing else, nothing more, because you want to be sure that your chatbot is working properly.
Amazing. That sounds really interesting and cool. And in terms of other applications, have you recently come across something particularly interesting when it comes to AI implementation, more like in an operational business or maybe, I don't know, entertaining area or any other implementation? I see that here is something AWS branded, maybe for instance something similar, or you can describe this toy.
So let me go with 3 examples, and
right.
the last one will be actually this device which I brought. So very often when we are talking about artificial intelligence, generative AI, there is chatbot. Even me, I brought it a few times during our conversation. But very often there is a question, can we do much more with this kind of technology? And the answer is yes. Again, not for everybody, but sometimes you are working in an industry where you can leverage this to make something really cool. So first example will be from Amazon. And Amazon did something which is called Amazon One. Amazon One is type of authentication which works in USA. So whenever there is a Amazon shop, some kind of shops, and you want to get into the shop, there is authentication which works like this, that you take your palm, you put it above a device, and the device will scan your palm, and based on this, it will identify you, the gate will open, and you will enter the shop.
All right.
So what is interesting is when Amazon decided that this will be an interesting way to authenticate users, it turned out that we don't have data. We don't have data to build machine learning model which will be able to analyze the palms. So what Amazon did, it used generative AI to create artificial millions of fake palms. So artificial palms, images of palms, and then based on this, Amazon took this, millions of pictures to build new models which are able to analyze palm, and then you can enter the shop. And what is interesting, because sometimes people are saying, okay, what is palm? We can analyze face or the eyes and so on. Palm is 1,000 much more secure than scanning the face, and 100 times more, precise than scanning eyes. So definitely Palm is the way to go. So this is one of those very interesting ways of using generative AI.
It didn't raise any kind of concerns, privacy-wise, because for instance, when I think of scanning my palm in order to enter the shop, I at least have some kind of objection.
So you don't need to use it. But you can. And at the end, Amazon is not connecting, the image of your palm with your identity and so on. It will just ask you, okay, connect the image of your palm with the credit card, because at the end you need to pay. So this is what is important. This is what is important, and at the end it's making life easier. So in the old times, you would go and pay traditional method. Now you will go and pay with the credit card. In USA and also in Poland, very often you will just enter to the shop with the mobile device. But now it's even more easier. You forget your mobile, you don't have a device, but you have got your hand.
Right.
You enter, you take, you go, and life becomes much more easier.
So the idea is as simple as on the same basis as face recognition mechanism, right? But the thing is exactly, just expand it, and that's a great example how Amazon overcome the challenge of gathering such a enormous data bank, right? Like you said, the millions of those. All right, and 2 more.
So the second one is from Ubisoft. So for those of you who are playing games and so on, the name of the company will be familiar. So pretty much when maybe not whenever, but a lot of games have got something which is called non-player character. So you are playing the game and there are like people, but those are not real people. Those are fake, bots, which very often are taught to speak only a few sentences and so on. But still they are there to make the game much more interesting. So you, for example, let's say you have got a game, you are going through the world, you are seeing the people, but those are fake people. You can go, you can ask something, but there will be always those same sentences, those same stuff which you can ask them and there will be the answer. So what Ubisoft is doing is leveraging generative AI to make the discussion with those bots much more interesting. And I have seen on YouTube examples of this, and this is just excellent. You go to the bot, which is not a real person, and you ask real life questions. For example, what is the meaning of the life? What do you do here? What do you do in your free time? And then Ubisoft is leveraging generative AI to make the answer proper to your question, interesting one, and suddenly, you don't want to go and play the game because you want to talk with those bots. And, if anybody didn't saw this on YouTube, I strongly recommend to go there because this is just amazing, amazing. I don't play games, it's been a while since I have been playing some games, but this is just amazing where the world is going. So definitely one of my top 2 or 3 favorite cases.
All right. And the third one?
And the third one. So like you said, I brought with me a device. And so what is this? This is a DeepRacer. So what is a DeepRacer? I told you before that AWS is like a collection of Lego blocks, like hundreds of different Lego blocks, data, analytics, security, and so on, machine learning. And a few of those are hardware Lego services. And this is one of those. I like to say that this is a toy because at the end this is a toy. So what exactly is a DeepRacer? Pretty much a DeepRacer is a way how people, companies, just normal people, can play with machine learning and see how it actually can be used in real life. So the idea is very simple. So pretty much this is a DeepRacer. I can open the top box. Let me do it and I will show you more or less how does it look like inside.
Okay, quick advertisement of the product.
Yes, yes. Of course you can buy it on Amazon.com, just saying. So there's a camera. So the idea is that you put it on the floor, there's a track, and there's a camera on which there is already machine learning model. It's analyzing the track. So it knows where it is on the track, how far it's from the left corner, right corner, and so on. And then it's sending this data to your model, which you are building. And pretty much your task is to build a model based on reinforcement learning, which will be used by the car to teach itself how to drive. So at the beginning, it doesn't know how to drive the truck. It doesn't know that, okay, when there's a turn, it should turn and so on. So your task is to teach it how to drive it. So you play, you modify the algorithm and so on, and after a few tries, maybe after a few hours, you see that the car is, you put it on the track and it's going by itself on the track. So first you are happy when it will finish the track, and then you want to make it as fast as possible. So you modify the algorithm, machine learning model, to make it faster, faster, faster. Because what does it do? In virtual environment in the cloud, it teaches itself how to do it. So it's going one by one by one. It's teaching, different parameters and so on. And based on this, at the end, if you're lucky, if you are, if you did it properly, you see the progress and so on. So why am I?
Battery charge, right?
Yes, like you put it here a battery. I don't have it with me, and based on this, it will go. I think for 1 hour or something. So you might be asking, okay, so why Amazon is doing this? And the idea is that whenever we are talking with companies, different kind of companies, and we're talking about machine learning, it's still very virtual. Machine learning will help you to change the way how you build the business and so on. And then there are developers, or not only, and they are thinking, okay, so how exactly should I use it? And then we're saying, let's do a hackathon. Let's do a hackathon. Let's have like 50, 60 people. Let's make different groups of your employees, and let's see which group will be the faster. And trust me, after the such hackathon, which can take 1 day or more, people are amazed, because they finish the hackathon with the feeling, oh my, I managed to build self-driving car. So now I can work with my boring business data, and I can actually make something which will be beneficial for the company and so on. So this is the toy, the product. You can buy it on Amazon, like I said, but you don't need to. So actually on AWS Cloud, there's also a virtual representation of this. So you don't need to buy the device. It costs like $200-300, something like this. But actually you can go to cloud, to AWS console, and you can play with virtual representation without actually buying the device. In my opinion, it's not as cool, but still it will make the job.
But as of now, this is a toy, right?
It's a toy. It's for education purposes.
Okay. But is it a plan? Can you disclose if it's not like, top secret? One day will it become bigger? I mean, is it like a kind of a growing competition for autonomous vehicles, AI-driven?
So there is a competition, but not such kind of competition. So there is a competition in which you can play with it to make your model as fast as possible. So pretty much there's a leak, DeepRacer leak. If your model is good, you can upload it. And based on this, AWS will be checking how fast it took the car to finish the track. And the fastest implementation, the authors of the fastest implementations are invited to Las Vegas to reinvent the biggest AWS conference. So this contest, yes, it's there.
But purely from the software side, right? I mean,
yes, from the software perspective. So hardware is here, is there. You use what is here.
Okay, because I expected breaking news that Amazon's gonna launch a new line of autonomous AI-driven.
No comment. No
and then
comment.
Tesla stock.
No comment.
All right. Coming back to the topic, I mean that was amazing. Thank you for the presentation. Maybe deep dive about the AI itself and some threats, because they are also interesting. I'm talking about the threats to human jobs. So we know that nowadays with the AI already pace of adoption, in various industries AI is present, it's supportive, and in some cases does it remarkably. But some people say, which sometimes they claim inevitable, that there will be one day that AI will outperform human beings. There will be less and less human jobs, and the more and more AI and robots will take over our roles. What would you say to that?
I would say that this is a very important topic question which we always should ask ourselves. Is there an answer? I do not know the answer. I can only think what is my opinion. So let me say like this. The shift in the technology always brings changes. And in the last 200 years, we have been witnessing things coming from the technology perspective, and jobs were changing. We don't have a lot of different jobs which existed 100 years ago. On the other hand, we have got a lot of jobs which are now on the market which didn't exist 30 years ago. E-commerce manager. If you would use the term 20 years ago, or let's say 30 years ago, nobody would know what the heck is e-commerce manager. But now we have got it. More and more people are going into internet types of the jobs and so on.
But also the other way around. Today nobody knows what's the lift operator, right? I mean, it's also kind of the stuff that basically there are new roles upcoming, new jobs being created, but also there are some that cease to exist, no?
Exactly. So the world will be changing. You mentioned lift operator. I'm always often saying about the people who are delivering ice. In the old days when you didn't have a fridge in your house and you wanted to, to have a tea with ice, what you could do? You could, call the person who would come with the ice, and you would buy it from him. Now, we don't have such job because, it would be useless. So the world is changing. This is definitely, nothing new. Okay, but still let's go back to artificial intelligence. It will have got the impact on us, but I would see it more as it will have got the impact where it can make our life easier. Let's say, for example, we are a doctor or we are a patient, we go to the doctor, we have got just 15 minutes with a doctor, and the task of the doctor is, check our health and so on. Now, the doctor will spend a big part of the time just writing some stuff, what happened, what he recommends and so on. And this is a bit annoying, sometimes you pay for this 15 minutes and suddenly 5 or 6, 7 minutes is just wasted on the doctor on writing. And now the artificial intelligence can help us in this. So there are services, again, from AWS Cloud like Health Scribe, which is analyzing what is happening in the room. It creates the transcription and it summarizes it to make everything much more easier, and pretty much we don't need to waste time. So definitely I would be going this direction. Machine learning, artificial intelligence will be used in the places where it can make our life easier. Will it have impact? Yes. But also, okay, I was talking about the medicine. Teachers, machine learning can help us to make education much more interesting. Should we use it or shouldn't we use it? We should, because it will be beneficial for our children, for the next generation, and we definitely should not be afraid of the new technology.
And is AWS somehow involved in this patient-centric healthcare initiative somehow? Because you mentioned healthcare twice.
So there's a few different services from Amazon which are purely dedicated for health industry, like Health Scribe, which is about transcription of the discussion between the doctor and the patient. The different service will be, for example, for analyzing pictures and so on. So yes, short answer for your question is yes, Amazon AWS is also going in this direction, because there is a place where actually new technology, the cloud and artificial intelligence, can make the impact on our life.
Right. I think we'll maybe delve more into it, this social aspect of AI in a minute, but maybe somewhere in between, I can't stop myself but ask, what do you think about the potential robot fights? I mean, like, will we live in times where there will be kind of like a Terminator movie, will we experience fight between robots and simply, I'm not talking about the combat zone, right, and like battlefields, but like generally, do you think the AI will evolve to such a level that will experience simply, maybe not being dominated as a human beings? I personally, I don't believe that, AI will outperform us in the long run, but in any case, what would you say?
So let me say like this. On one hand, like I said before, artificial intelligence, robots are just tools. It will be up to us how we will leverage them, how we'll use it, and so on. It's also on us to make sure that we're using it in a proper way, in a secure way, and so on. Also on AWS to make sure, like I said before, that what the cloud is providing is secure, is safe, and so on. So it's hard to predict what the future will bring. We started the discussion about what will happen in 5 years, and already I said that it's hard to predict, the life in 5 years. In 100 years, I would not be brave enough to even guess, because thinking about the future, we'll never know. We'll never know. A few years ago, 3 years ago, how many of us knew what is generative AI?
Yeah.
Like less than 1%, less than 1%. And now everybody are talking about this. It's changing our world. Who knows what the future will bring? For the last couple of years, we were also talking about quantum computing. It was, we are talking, but we still didn't see the real usage in real life. Who knows, maybe in a year, in 2, we will actually see a real implementation, the usage, and then the world might be totally different.
Right. And what would you say about the social impact? So how will AI impact on the average person, like, in our day-to-day lives? You mentioned the device you have on your finger, that is like absolutely off the record, right? But something that, measures simply like, blood in your veins and, like your entire health, like a kind of a smartwatch, right? In this direction, do you think that simply there will be a point in time when we'll be like, maybe even without any sensors, right? Like simply with some kind of small microprocessor in our fingers or somewhere there that will simply, tell us, oh, hey, watch out here, watch out there. Do you think it's going to this direction? Because some people say that the true generative AI hasn't yet come.
Most of the people don't recognize that they are already in the AI world. If I would ask, the random person on the street, have they been using machine learning this day? Majority of them would say, no, they have. Majority of them, if not all of them, have. Whenever you are using some kind of, more fancy map on your mobile, there's artificial intelligence. Whenever you are opening some kind of local portal with news, there is machine learning and so on. So machine learning not only will have got a huge impact on our life, it already has got. But the beauty is that we don't recognize it because it's like very transparent to us. It's invisible pretty much. What will change in the future? Definitely a lot will change. We mentioned, the different kind of devices. I'm wearing this one, which is collecting my heart rate and so on. And it provides me different kind of data regarding my heart rate, my, what was the quality of my sleep and so on. And the future definitely will bring more of those kinds of devices, products. Let's analyze the data. Let's analyze what we are doing. Let's make our life more efficient, more productive, and so on. So it already has got the impact. The cloud is here. It's like I said about the artificial intelligence. The same is about the cloud. If I would ask somebody, would you put your data in the cloud, or do you put your data in the cloud? The answer might be different. Majority of the data is already in the cloud because it's just more secure, more scalable, cost-effective, and so on. So the future is now. The question is, what will be different in a few years?
Right. That's really amazing, especially what you said, the future is now. I think it can be like a theme of this interview. I very much like it. And let's maybe, to somehow try to combine it in a form of a summary, what we covered when it comes to the cloud, AI, generative AI, machine learning, and its adoption into the industries. Maybe let's at the end focus on this AI adoption, and not only AI, but basically innovation. What are the, let's say, top 3, 4, 5, or basically the key challenges that nowadays companies in various industries face when it comes to the innovation adoption, AI adoption, and going with the spirit of modernization?
So there's a few things. First of all, there is a mental barrier. They don't know where to start. Sometimes they are afraid of trying. And what I have to say to them is that it was never as easy as now to actually play, to try, and to implement.
Right.
The cloud is here, and like I said before, you can have the access to the same services as Netflix in USA, as banks in Australia, as some school startups in UK, and so on. So this mental barrier is one of the main key problems. The other thing is the knowledge. People are afraid that this will require a specific amount of the knowledge, type of the knowledge, which they don't have. And then for them, this is a blocker. This is no-go. We are not going there because we just won't handle it. And again, there are two answers. First of all, cloud is much more easier than anything else before. It actually make much more easier to use machine learning. Text-to-speech, analyzing images, and so on, so on, so on. You don't need to have PhD to actually use generative AI. But okay, sometimes you don't have totally IT expertise in your company. So what then? We started this discussion, talking about the partners. So again, let's leverage partners. Those are companies which have got the expertise in your industry, in the cloud, in machine learning, which can help you to actually transform your business. And this is super important because again, we are living in the world where everybody are competing with everybody.
Right.
You are not only competing with, with the company on the same street. You are not only competing with the company from a neighbor city. You are competing with companies from USA, from Europe, from China, and so on. So the speed matters. The speed and access to this data is super important, and this is one of the most important aspects which companies across the globe needs to realize.
Right, but you also mentioned that this first problem or challenge is a mental aspect, right, of it, so like mental barriers, so to say. So I would say, is it like a matter of education, like proper education of employees, of people, maybe management, top management even, everyone? What would you say? How should it be done properly from the perspective of such a seasoned IT expert as you are?
So totally, the lack of the knowledge is important aspect. And we said before, if we would ask the random person on the street or even in IT, what is the cloud, there would be the answer. The question is, would be this the correct answer? Mm-hmm. Very often, trust me, the answer would not be totally correct. So we need to educate people. And if I would be the owner of a company those days, I would definitely invest in the education of the employees. We need to remember that if we won't educate them, if we won't invest in their education, somebody else will do it. And we don't want to risk losing them. And the beauty of those days is that you actually don't need to pay to educate them. There's so many resources available for free in the internet. Even AWS is offering multiple different courses, videos about the cloud, about machine learning, and so on. So it doesn't require a lot from a company, from the owner, from the business management, and so on, to actually educate their employees, thanks to which the employees will be much more happy because they see the progress of their life, of their career. And on the other hand, they can actually make the impact, the change in those companies for which they are working for.
Yes, exactly, and especially when it comes to technological companies, right? Once you educate your employees and they will be more familiarized with the subject of what they're doing, right? They will eventually develop and do it better, I presume, right?
Totally, totally.
And on your example, because as far as I know, you have a team of 100 people, right? So what's your recipe to successfully educate and run those projects and overcoming the challenges that I presume that even in such companies like AWS, they must be there as well, no?
Agility, agility, agility. I know this is like the short answer, and then let me give you a bit wider answer. So managing a large group of people which work with end clients and they are helping them to migrate to AWS, to the cloud, build new application, new system on AWS is challenging. Because AWS is providing so many different solution services. It's like on Monday you are talking with a bank and you are talking about backup in the cloud. On Tuesday you are talking with retail about the scalability in the cloud. On Wednesday you are talking with a hot startup about machine learning and so on. And managing a team of solutions architect, solutions architect needs to be up to date with everything what is happening on the world. We are living in a very fast-moving world. So just because you know something this day doesn't mean that you will be up to this speed in a year, in 2, in 3. We don't know what exactly will be on our mind in 2-3 years. So first of all, agility, which means you need to listen for the market. Whenever we see the new trends appearing on the market, we need to educate ourselves, in the case of my team, because it will be needed to educate and to help our customers.
Perfect. So to sum it up, the future is now, as you said before a minute, right? Tomasz, thank you so much. It's been very exciting and a real pleasure for me to talk to you.
Thanks a lot for bringing me here for the discussion, and yeah, the future is now.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Hit the subscribe button and follow us for more.